you guys, but I've noticed for me, some friends stay, some friends go.
Oh, yes.
Some friends say, I would just prefer to have some happy news. It would be really nice to hear that you were having a good time in your life sometimes. Oh, that's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It would be helpful to me too, is what I always would say. Oh, really? Oh, really?
You're right, though, because even if I've got a chest infection or aspiration, I find that people just stay away, and little do they know that's the time when you really need them.
Mm-hmm.
You need the help.
Over the years, I have had some fantastic friends who have been that support, and I could have told them anything and they would have been there. And relationships, I feel like, I've been quite lucky. I'm very lucky now to have a wife that listens to me, and I moan to her and she tells me, please stop moaning. And then I moan a bit more. And, I would say, but there are very much friends that still stand out. Maybe once a decade, I lost one that I felt like, do you know what? I deserved better from you as a friend. But at that point, wherever they were in their life, I had to accept that they weren't there in their life ready to be able to help me for whatever reason. Do you know, I just feel like for me, what I've learned as well is, everyone's got their own thing.
Absolutely.
Everyone's going through their own thing. But I think I would say dealing with loss in general, we had to get used to from a sort of early point. I did anyway. Loss of a lot of things. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like, I lost a sense of self, but I also lost many other hats that I used to wear.
I think one of the things that we experience, but we don't necessarily kind of acknowledge properly, is that it's a grieving process, and it is a complete form of grief where we've all lost big things, whether it's jobs or partners or whatever, friends. And for me, definitely, I did have a job that I loved, but then health gradually kind of took that away. I was very active, kind of on my feet, running around doing different over a variety of roles, and then I ended up getting an injury through it one day. Had a bit of time off work, came back, changed roles to a more seated one, and didn't quite necessarily know how to connect in my brain that it was a lot of pain. I ended up just using alcohol as self-medication, and it got me into quite a bad way. And ultimately it was that lost me the job through a lot of time off work. But behind that was illness, which I hadn't quite realised, and eventually I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and then had to go through again a lot of that grieving process of as we've already kind of said, in terms of identity and everything like that. But what I have learned is that all of those skills that I've had kind of coming through, and working with people and things like that, I'm now in a position where I can offer those different feelings and emotions and understanding to even to come on here and help out with a few other people. And I think that's one of the big things, is that we're still able to offer something, even if we can't go out, we can't do much, and the fatigue, the pain.
We're still of value. We're still of value.
But that's something that society, I think, it doesn't teach you. We're often kind of thought of as your job, that's a big bit of identity and things like that. So whenever we meet people, the usual questions are, what's your name, what do you do, where are you from? And that is
they
your
were
identity.
Always my biggest fears. What is it you do? What is it you do? Panic button for me. Panic button. I would stop going out purely because I would work up the rage, and pure fear of those questions going to be the first question that people will say, how are you doing? What have you been up to?
Yeah.
And it stopped me going out because I was fearful of that question.
It also stops the conversation, because when you say, oh, well, I'm not working because, it's like end of conversation. They don't want to carry on talking to you anymore because you don't have anything exciting to say about what you're doing or who you are. It
I
just
think
seems
it's
to be,
discomfort. It's discomfort as well.
Yeah.
It's not, you might perceive it as they don't want to know because they're not that interested, but actually I think they're just uncomfortable and they maybe don't know what to say. Like,
yeah, because we like putting
I
people
don't
in
know.
boxes, and if we
Yeah.
know what they do, then we kind of have them in that
talk
box.
about that.
Whereas
Yeah.
People like to get to know people quickly. So one question is,
Yeah.
what do you do? So then I can put you in that box. And then, oh, and do you have a wife or a mother, or do you have a husband, or, you know, they're another box, you know, and I suppose these identities, if you say, what have you been up to? Not much. What is it you do? Sit and cry in my bedroom quite a lot, with a lot of existential dread. What about you? Been up to much? You know, it kind of stops the conversation, doesn't it?
What's kind of helped me since I've been, before being executive producer of the TV show and an author, I'd tell people I'm a house father. That's not taboo in America. I used to be in sales, and you were always told to ask questions of them first. God gave you one mouth but two ears. There's a reason for that ratio. And so by continuing to ask them questions, that gives you a chance to control the conversation so that they don't have, they can have, well, they have a chance to get to know you.
Right.
But before the pandemic, I kind of had a nice little response to it. It was, I'm not working at the moment, but I do volunteer at the food bank. And through that, I'm able to kind of help people.
Yeah, so you got yourself a couple of sentences ready just in case anybody asked you that question.
And then could easily turn it back onto them, what do you do? And then, that usually kind of gets them talking, as Tim's just said. But because of the pandemic, then it means that we've had to completely change the way that the food bank and the charities and I suppose a lot of organisations have had to work. And I can't sit on the door and welcome people in because we're not there. So I'm currently in one of those positions where although in some ways I don't have that official role with anything really, apart from some Facebook groups and things, and that's where my focus has been, and especially been very fortunate to have this team on the Disabled People's channel to just be able to put out some videos. And
so you are being productive. You do have things to do.
Well, that's right. We still do things.
It gives a wider reach for some of the things as well, because we've got different conditions, and it helps us to relate to each other. And before that, I think, and with a lot of people, we want to spend time with people who have the same condition because we feel that they're the only ones who'll understand us.
I do find now that I'm saying to people, oh, well, I've just helped with an interview for the Disabled People's channel, or I've just helped with some editing for the Disabled People's channel. So even if we get locked down again as well, I know we're still going to be here, and this is what I'm doing at present, even though I'm not doing a paid job and I'm barely going out, but I've still got the connection, and this is who I am now. I'm helping, I'd like to think, and other disabled people to communicate.
Before that, we were looking at more kind of studio based, or at least kind of in somebody's room, and a few of us around it, but it was very London based that way. And suddenly we've discovered this brand new world of talking over the internet, and we've got people that we kind of have conversations with all over the world, and so that's really exciting. One of the biggest challenge is definitely to interact with other conditions, other disabilities, but there's so many similarities. Dion, for example, was explained that she's got various different conditions which gives masses of fatigue, and that's something that I get as well, and it kind of happens with different people with different conditions. And I know that some of my friends with epilepsy, for example, they might not have the fatigue all the time, but after a seizure, there's definitely that period of brain fog and fatigue, and so
confusion.
Yeah, so we could definitely relate to even just bits of what they go through.
I think we've all lost something. We're all going through a journey to find something that's a new normal for us. I think we all actually have quite invisible illness. All of us have on the face of it quite normal, able-bodied people. And probably people would find it quite difficult to correlate disability and us all being able to walk upright. Because it's very, it's a bit of a grey area. People don't understand that invisible illness doesn't mean it's invisible in our lives. It means it's the biggest thing that can possibly be in our lives. It takes over every aspect, but it is invisible to another person. You can't see. If I was to put the labels of the amount of things I've been told and diagnosis, we'd be covered up by labels.
It's the kind of thing that over time we've had to recognize initially to get to the point where we asked the doctors about it. And in our cases, there's a big long list of symptoms, which I don't know what it's like in some of the other countries, but in the UK, we're often given 10 minutes and we're told just bring one thing at a time. And so when you've got a whole list of things, it takes a long time for them to put it all together.
I went to a pain specialist and they had a picture like this and they said, "Where does it hurt?"
Yeah, I've had that as well.
And I said, "Here." Every single part of me apart from my eyelids. And he was like, I had everywhere, mate. And he said, "I think you've got fibromyalgia, go and see a rheumatologist." And he took me off his list. He was like, "I don't need to look at you ever again." Where does it hurt?
I guess we've all gone through a process where we've kind of recognised that we've got something wrong, had the diagnosis, gone through that grieving period, and now we're kind of at the point of acceptance where we understand it, and then we're trying to kind of move on and do something with that. And
burst out of the cocoon.
And one of the things that we've all realised, we're here, which means that we've realised that we've got something to offer. And exactly. And I think for most of us as well, we know that we might only be doing kind of an hour chatting to each other, but that's the rest of the week we're going to be wiped out for.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking to you here on the Disabled People's Channel. And I think we all agree that we're covering things up. Some might call it putting on a charade. But we're strong people, and because we're willing to look at ourselves in different ways, we're going to, that's going to give us the courage to go out and look at others. And we hope that other viewers will feel the same way and follow our examples. We're leaders, or we wouldn't be here.